I built 3 gifts for the holidays, each with different budgets: $50, $100, and $500 to see which price range delivers the most value. But I didn't just want to build gifts, I wanted to see how far I could stretch the limits of these budgets. So, to maximize quality, I decided that the labor would be on the house. For the big build, I even engineered a unique hidden feature that completely transforms the piece. It should be the winner. But is it actually 10 times better than the budget builds? Let's start building and find out. While I show you the beginning steps of the $50 build, let's talk about my thought process for selecting these projects. I think there are roughly 3 buckets of people you could give a gift to for the holidays. $50 price range, good for a friend or a coworker, $100 for a family member, and $500 for that special somebody. It makes sense to make a project per bucket. But how did I land on these 3 projects I made? For all of the projects, the goal was to create unique and universal gifts. So for unique, I wanted to think outside of the box. Not your annual pair of socks or even the typical cutting board from a woodworker. And for universal, I thought about interests most people have. Given these 2 requirements, along with the budget to make the gift, I narrowed my search down. For the first project, after a lot of research, I decided coffee was a good topic because as someone who is very much in the coffee rabbit hole, I've noticed more and more people have joined me in the rabbit hole. People are passionate about having dedicated coffee shrines in their house where they have coffee setups, steamed milk, and attempt latte art. With this in mind, I remember I saved an inspiration photo of a coffee cup shelf unit. Bingo! This checked all the boxes for the $50 price range. By now, you'll see me milling up the lumber for what I'm going to call the cup shelf. The design is pretty straightforward, which is partly why it works well for the low price range gift. It's a box with a handful of shelves and many handfuls of cup dividers. I wanted to elevate it a bit more. Given that I have the tools, I decided to try dovetail joints to join the outside pieces together. You can see the box coming together and you may be thinking, how is it possible for a handmade white oak dovetail cup shelf to be $50? And before I answer that question, I think it's important to note that I'm not saying that I'd sell these for $50. I'd have to charge much more than that. It's more of an out-of-pocket cost. The way I'm able to get such a premium product in such a small budget is that I'm not accounting for my time, which is a huge piece the price the consumer would see. I think this makes sense given that it's a gift. Speaking of time, I've come to value it greatly. As life becomes busier and busier and free time shrinks more and more, it's become one of my biggest motivators to do something. With that, I've come to appreciate others' time more as well, and I think it's the greatest gift you can give. If you make a gift for someone, you'll spend hours thinking about that person while you make it. And for this project, they will think of me every morning for the rest of their life when they grab their coffee cup. So I'll need to choose wisely who I gift this to, because I absolutely don't want to be a daily intrusive thought for someone like Gary from accounting. No offense to any Garys watching this. For reference, this cup shelf took me about 8 hours to make, so it cost about $500 accounting for my time. You can either call me a very generous person or a super inefficient woodworker. I'm overall happy with how this one turned out. It gets me excited to see what I can do with double the budget for the next project. For the $100 price range, I had a bunch of cool ideas, some of which I might build in the future, so subscribe to stay tuned. One of my latest obsessions has been lighting. It's one of those things that can elevate a space. It's a great way to set the mood. This led me down the path of making a lamp. I decided on a pair of table lamps and was immediately met with a blocker. I've never incorporated any electrical parts in my projects. This will present itself as a challenge later. For the design, I went with a modern look and a small footprint. I really like frosted sphere shades, so I knew I wanted to use that. I found a couple on Amazon for under $20 and decided that the base should be a simple, soft disc. The goal is to highlight the golden glow of the light for optimal vibes. For this project, I relied heavily on the Shaper Origin to cut 2 circles, one for the shape of the base and one for the shade to sit in. While this project was exponentially faster to build, it probably required the most time to plan of the 3. I mentioned earlier how the electrical part was an issue for me. Now, for some reason, my brain mostly only works in wood. Because this lamp made my brain work overtime. I just didn't know how I could do the electrical piece of this despite watching hours of lamp making videos. Luckily, I solved this issue by getting a lamp making kit, which eased my headaches. Speaking of headaches, if you're interested in building one of these projects, skip the headache and use my plans. With this video, I will release a plan for each of the projects. They're available over on my Patreon page, link in the description. Just sign up to be a member and get access to a handful of plans. The plans are essentially polished versions of my notes that I use to make these projects, so go check them out. What a fun little project that will add ambiance to any room. 2 down and we have the biggest gift to go, the $500 gift. The goal of this gift is to be a showstopper. I'm looking to get that confused face after they open it. The one where it's like, what? This is for me? I don't understand. If the bar card itself isn't enough to garner this reaction, I added a feature that will guarantee to leave the recipient amazed. This price range really opens up the possibilities. There's a lot of room to play with. So why did I choose a bar cart over something else? Again, I wanted something that the masses would like, and while it'd be awesome to get an unsolicited piece of furniture for Christmas, the chances are that it would work out are slim. Imagine you know Grandma Kathleen gifting you a floral printed love seat for your living room. Love the intent, don't love the execution. With this thought process, I quickly shifted away from core furniture pieces because most people are set on those, and they aren't very personable. I started to think about a piece that will add function and character to a home, and that's when I landed on a bar cart. I like what the bar cart stands for and what it gives the owner. A bar cart is so much more than a side table or a coffee table. It oozes class. People who have bar carts are put together. They have their life figured out. Usually the ones to host parties, and this bar cart is perfect because it has a party trick. But in addition to a functional piece of furniture, this gift gives sophistication. By now you've seen me finish up building the side assemblies for the base of the cart, and I want to talk a little bit about the design of this cart. I set out to design something minimal but display good craftsmanship. A piece that won't necessarily catch your eye as you enter the room, but one that you could spend some time looking at. With that, I decided there should be 2 levels, one to work on and one to store things. And it should have wheels to move around and nice joinery to demonstrate quality. As I finished up sketching the design, I realized it needed to be more than what it was. I needed to take it to the next level. I thought about how people might use this, and in my mind I saw someone pouring drinks for others on the cart and fumbling around trying to carry multiple glasses over to them. It runs counter to the ethos of the bar cart. This needed to be more elegant. This is when I got the idea to make the trays removable via magnets. Now the person can pour drinks and carry the entire tray to their guests. A subtle little feature that provides swagger. There hasn't been anything super notable to mention as regards to woodworking in this video until now. I made these little pieces from scrap to help with the glue up of the miters, and they worked wonders. I had seen them before on woodworking YouTube and found a tutorial by Sean Boyd. So next time you need to glue up miters, check out his video to make these handy little guys. This was one of the most stressful parts of the build, when the bottom of the tray wasn't sliding in during glue up and one of the miters broke. But in the end, I was able to figure it out, but not without some panic. People who own bar carts are probably really good gift givers, and it's one of the most underrated talents in life. What an awesome feeling it is to drive home from a party knowing that you dominated everybody else with your gift. When I'm thinking about gifts to give, I'm hyper focused on finding something that they will use and better yet use often. I try to give gifts that I like and I would appreciate. I know this doesn't always work out, but I just hate the idea of gifting something that becomes someone else's junk. Maybe you're like me and you feel extremely guilty to move on from a gift from somebody, but sometimes you gotta do it. That's why I think handmade gifts are a great idea, because it's not often someone will create junk. We're in the final stages of the build. I just need to add the finish and also add the wheels to the base. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's exactly what I envisioned when I drew it up. But is it exponentially better than the others? I'll let the shots help you decide. Now it's time to decide. If you asked me before I made these projects which was my favorite, it was definitely the bar cart. It adds functionality and it's nice and minimal. And don't get me wrong, I think I executed nicely on it, but there's something about this fun little lamp that I'd pick over the other two. Now tell me which you'd prefer down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.